Hello and welcome back to Apt4U. In this particular video we are going to discuss a new problem from LeetCode. Basically this is the first problem from LeetCode easy section, right? So the problem name is two-sum problem. Without further delay, let us quickly jump into understanding what the problem actually says. So if you go to the question, you can I hope you have gone through the question. Basically the crux of the question is that you are provided with an array nums which has some set of numbers and also a single value, right, which is an integer known as target. Now given the array, for example, if I have an array of numbers like 2, 7, 11 and 15, right? So this is an array of numbers and they have also given me a target value which is 9. Now what I need to do is basically find out two numbers x1 and x2 such that they will add up to the sum 9. So this is the target variable. Whatever value is present in this, we have to find out two numbers from the array x1 and x2 which will add up to 9. So we can clearly see here we have two numbers 2 and 7, right? So 2 plus 7 is going to give me 9. Now what do we have to give as output? We don't have to return 2 or 7 as the output. What we have to return is the index of 2 in the array and index of 7 in the array. So whatever values you got for x1 and x2, you have to find out the index of x1 in the array and index of x2 in the array. So clearly if you just print out the index positions, you can find out the index of x1 is basically, that is 2 is 0 and index of 7 is 1, right? So now you have to return basically a vector containing 0 and 1. Getting the point? Why? Because you can see the return type is a vector of integers and we will basically return either 0 or 1, or you can return 1 and 0. Both are an accepted solution. Alright. So now there are some additional information given in the question. So they have said us that we may assume that each input would have exactly one solution, right? So you have to assume that for a given set of inputs, for example, if you have a given array of numbers and a single target variable, so for a given set of input you will have exactly one solution. So you can see there was an exactly one solution. Only 2 and 7 is going to lead to the sum 9. No other integers are going to lead to sum 9. So they have clearly mentioned there is exactly one solution for the question. Also you may not use the same element twice. Why so? Supposing you have an array of numbers 3, 5 and 2, right? Now if I want to get a sum of 6, right? So you may say that okay, we can have 3 plus 3 equal to 6, right? As x1 as 3, x2 as 3 equal to 6. But now if I ask you what is the index of these 3, you will say 0. What is the index of these 3, you will say 0. You can see they have same index, which means that you are repeatedly using the same number. That is not allowed in the question. Getting the point? So if you have two numbers 3, 3, two different 3's, and now if I ask you to give sum 6, is it possible? Yes, definitely it is possible. It will be accepted because x1 plus x2 will lead to 6, sorry. And this index is 0, this index is 1, right? Because you can see I'm referring to this 3 and this 3. They are separate 3's. This is allowed. So the solution will be 0, 1 or 1, 0. Accepted. But you cannot take the same 3 twice. So I think that's the complete detailed information about the question. Now the question is, how do we solve this particular problem? The first approach is the brute force approach. I'm not going to go into the detail of the brute force approach because it's very simple. The time complexity will be order of n square. Why? Because you will be having a for loop outside and a for loop inside. What we are basically going to do is generate pairs of x1 comma x2, isn't it? If I run it from y equal to 1 till I less than equal to n, and it is also if I run from j equal to 1 to j less than equal to n, means all the numbers from 1 to n, all the numbers from 1 to n, right? So you will basically get how much n is into n combinations. Getting the point? So it means supposing you have an array of 3 to 4 and 3 to 4, and if I need a sum 6, right? So according to the brute force approach, what are the possible combinations that you will be going through in this loop? You will basically have 3 with 3, you will check 3 with 2, you will check 3 with 4, right? Again you will check 2 with 3, you will check 2 with 4. Why will I not check 2 and 2 or 3 and 3? Because similar index is not allowed. Same element cannot be taken twice. So accepting the same index, you will just compare it with other index. So 3 plus 2, is it giving you 6? No. 3 plus 4, is it giving me 6? No. 2 plus 3, is it giving me 6? No. 2 plus 4, is it giving you 6? Yes. So 2 plus 4 will be an accepted solution. Time complexity of this approach is order of n square. But our objective is to optimize it further to order of n solution, right? So we will basically try to solve this particular problem in order of n solution. That will be time complexity. Okay. But at the same time, we will find out that while decreasing the time complexity, we ended up increasing the space complexity little bit. You will see that. So let us try to come up with a solution of order of n. Fine. How do we solve that particular problem? In order to solve the problem in order of n, what we are going to do is, first of all, let us see what is basically given. We are provided with a vector of integers, nums, and a target value. Fine. So let me just so let me just declare a variable integer n. Alright, so what will n do? N will basically store the size of that array. So nums dot size, done. What next? Now we are basically going to declare a result vector of integer result to store our solution. Why? Because you can clearly see the return type will be a vector of integers, and hence I am declaring this. Cool. What next? The next thing to do is basically how do we approach. So now let us discuss the approach that I am going to discuss. So supposing I have an array 3, 2 and 4, and I have to check whether I have two numbers that will add up to 6, and if it is present, give their index. So what I'm going to do is I am going to basically iterate it only once from beginning till the end. Suppose initially I'm sitting on 3, I'm standing over 3. So I assume that, okay, so we know that x1 plus x2 has to be 6. So if I assume that x1 is 3, what is my x2? X2 will be again 6 minus 3, which is equal to 3. I will basically create a map and check whether when I am considering x1 as 3, the value pointed by x2, is it there in the map or not at that instant of time. Getting the point? This is the approach. Means I am going to iterate this loop one time from beginning to end. Every time I am standing over an element, I will consider that element as x1. The moment I consider that element as x1, the other element will be x2. I will calculate it by target minus x1. Then I will check whether that x2 is present in the map or not. In case the target x2 is not present in the map, I will insert this x1 in the map. Let us go step by step. So what I am going to do, as I said, I need a map, so I will create a map of integer comma integer. Let's name it MP. Cool. Now for the iteration, I is equal to 0, I less than n, I plus plus, right? So what you have to do, let's create two variables. As I said, x1 is equal to nums of I, right? While I'm iterating, wherever the I is pointing, that will be my x1, and integer x2 I'll calculate immediately by saying it will be target minus x1. I hope you can understand from the equation. Now what was my objective? I will be iterating, you can see I will be iterating from beginning till the end. So I wrote a for loop, and the index where I is pointing will be considered as x1. That value will be considered, the value at that index will be considered as x1. So I wrote integer x1 equal to nums of I. The another value can be calculated, x2 is equal to, this is the target variable, minus nums of I. I did so. Now what I was doing, I was checking if x2 is present in the map or not, right? So I will be having a if loop here, if block here, if map, the name of the map, dot find x2 not equal to mp dot end. What is mp? Mp is my alias for my map, right? The name of my map. So you can see if mp dot find is not equal to mp dot end. So what does it mean? If my this basically means, you can see if you just refer to the STL libraries, you will understand what does find do. Find will basically check if x2 is present in the address where this particular value is present in the map, and if it is not equal to mp dot end. Dot end basically points to the location next to the last element in the map, which means basically this confirms if num2 is there or not, right? So this not equal to mp dot end means if it is there. So let us say that this line means if x2 is present, then we will execute a set of codes, right? But do you think x2 is present right now? Right now we can see my I is pointing to 0 index, x1 is 3, x2 is 3, and when I calculate, when I check this map, I find out that x2 is not here in the map. So if it is not here in the map, what I said, you will insert this x1 in the map. So I'll write a code for that. So if it is not there, then mp of x1 is equal to I, the index, right? Which means I stored here what? Mp of x1 means corresponding to 3, I stored the index that is 0. Got the point? Fine. Next time my I iterates and comes to this index 1. So my x1 will be 2 now. So what is my x1? Again the same thing. This time my x1 will be 2, and when x1 is 2, what will be my x2? x2 will be equal to 6 minus 2, which is equal to 4. Is 4 present in the map? It is not present. If it is not present, what will happen? Again we will execute this line, and corresponding to 4 it will store its index 1. Again I increases, points to index 2. What is the element at index 2? 4. So what will x1 be considered now? x1 will be 4 now. What will be x2? x2 will be equal to target minus 4, which is equal to 2. Now again I will be checking if 2 is present in the map or not. So do you think 2 is present in the map? Sorry, a bit mistake. In the earlier iteration, when x1 was at 2, okay, so just sorry, when x1 was 2, x2 was basically, I need to find it. I was basically interested in finding out x2, right? So just a mistake in the working. So when x1 was 2, I was checking what is x2. So x2 is equal to 6 minus 2, which is equal to 4. Was x2 in the map? It was not in the map, right? So what did I do? What should I do? I should store x1 corresponding to its index. x1 was 2 and its index was 1. I stored it in the map. Iteration increases. Now pointer points to this particular index. What is the element here? 4. So what is x1? x1 is 4. Now what is x2? x2 is equal to 6 minus 4, which is equal to 2. Again, after calculating x2, our algorithm says check if x2 is present in the map or not. Do you think x2 is present in the map? Yes, x2 is present in the map, which means whenever you are considering whenever you have found one element in the array, and that is x1, and you also found out corresponding x2 in the map, what does it mean? See, whatever elements you are storing in the map, they are basically in the array, right? Whatever elements you are storing in the map, they are actually in the array. So whenever you picked up one element, suppose 4, right, and another element that I need to make the sum 6 is 2, and I found out that 2 is also in the map, which basically gives an indication that 2 is also in the array, which means there are two numbers in the array, 2 and 4, which is going to give me sum 6. So the moment you find out that this 2 is present in the map, okay, I should basically store it into my vector, that is result vector. Result dot pushback. What? So result dot pushback the index. So what is this? This will be basically MP of x2, right, corresponding to x2, whatever index you have stored earlier, that you have to return. And also you'll say result dot pushback I, right? I in the sense wherever this I is pointing right now, 2 comma, and MP of x2. What was x2? x2 you found out 2, corresponding to 1 was stored, comma 1. So either 2 1 or 1 comma 2, whichever is this, the solution is correct, right? Because they have said you can return the answer in any order. So that's it. Now what we are going to do is simply return at the end, return my result vector. So let's come run the code and check if everything is working fine. Okay, just a silly mistake. Yeah, I need to declare I here. Variable initialization, comma n. Fine. Okay, this is a function. Sorry. Yeah, that's it. So the solution has been accepted. Should be accepted. I have already submitted it many times, trying to optimize it further and further. Yeah, so you can see it runs 20 milliseconds faster than 47.2% of the C++ online submissions. Anyways, this was one of the approach to solve this particular problem, and the time complexity of this approach is order of n, right? So I hope that clears your doubt. In case of any doubt, please feel free to put your doubts in the comment section, and just like, share and subscribe. Thank you.